In last session, we understood the concept of a web page and a website. Okay, today in this session, we will see what are the different types of web pages. So we will understand the concept of types of web pages. Okay, so basically there are only two types of web pages, that is static web page and a dynamic web page. So web page we last time saw that it is a document which is created using HTML and which is displayed by a web browser, and it contains some information, some services, or can contain some products. Okay, so this web page, on the basis of the nature of this web page, how it displays content, we have two types of these web pages. First is called a static web page, static. Then we have a dynamic web page. So in this session, we'll understand what is a static web page and what is a dynamic web page. So first we will see the static web page. Static web page is a type of web page whose contents do not change, or whose contents are fixed for every user. So that means contents are fixed. Contents are fixed. Okay. So this is just like that these pages has been printed. Okay, that means the text is fixed. The text you saw there at this instant, and the same text you will see after 10 minutes, for example. Or if a user A visits the website, he will see some content, and if a user B visits the website, he will see the same content that is seen by the user A. So the contents are fixed, they don't change. Okay, static web pages, these are the basic web pages and are easy to create. So they are basic web pages, basic pages, and they are easy to create, as most of them are created only using HTML, and some formatting is also there, like CSS is sometimes used, but majority of the time these pages are only created by using HTML. Okay, so we don't need any special knowledge of programming, or we don't need any knowledge of databases to create static web pages. Okay, so it's web pages, that means static website, its web pages are coded only in HTML, and we don't need the knowledge of databases. So no databases are no databases are usually no databases are usually present in static web pages. Okay, so there is no concept of databases, that means only text is provided on the web pages and we don't have any database on backend. Okay, so static web pages, that is, these web pages are also known as flat or stationary web pages. We can also call them as flat or stationary web pages. So they are also called as flat or stationary web pages because these web pages do not change. Okay, so we call them flat or stationary web pages. Okay, and these web pages, static web pages, are one that are fixed, so that we already understood, and display the same content for every user. So content do not change on the basis of the type of the user. Content is same for every user. Okay, they are loaded on the client's browser as exactly they are stored on the web server. Okay, so we know that if we want to access a website, we have to send a request from our web browser to a web server, and web server will provide us the required website or a web page. Okay, so when a client browser sends a request to the server for a static web page, that web page is exactly fetched from the server and it is exactly provided to the browser without any change. Okay, so that means the page that I will see in my web browser is exactly the page that is stored on the web server. Okay, so these web pages are not changed from server to client. Okay, so that is why I have written the point that they are loaded on the client's browser exactly as they are stored on the web server. Okay, and such pages, that we can understand from the name, that such pages contain only static information. That means the information does not change. Okay, that means the information is fixed. Okay, Next, users can only read the information but cannot do any modification or interact with the information. That means these static web pages, they are not interactive. So they are non-interactive. So okay, these web pages are not interactive. That means they can only provide us some information, they can only provide us some text, and we cannot interact with the web page, or we cannot modify the information on the web page. Okay, and another thing, that static web pages, that we have already seen that they are only created using HTML. Okay, so it's all about static web pages. So static web pages, these are those web pages which are fixed, whose contents are fixed, whose contents do not change for users. Okay, these web pages are also called as flat or stationary web pages. Okay, they don't contain any databases. Okay, static web pages, they are exactly split same, that they are stored on the web server. That means the contents are not rendered from server to web browser. Okay, they are displayed exactly as they are stored on a web server, and such pages contain only static information. That means the information does not change for users. Okay, and such pages are created mostly using only HTML. Okay, so next we have dynamic web pages. So now we will understand the concept of a dynamic web page or a dynamic website. So dynamic web pages are those web pages whose contents change dynamically. So you can say the contents of dynamic web pages changes dynamically. So contents are not fixed, contents change dynamically. Okay, dynamically means while we are accessing the web page, while we are interacting with the web page, the contents can change. Okay, if the contents of a web page change while we are interacting with the web page, while we are accessing the web page, we can say that this web page is a dynamic web page. Okay, and dynamic web pages, majority of the time, these web pages access the contents from a database. That means they make use of a database. Okay, a database is used in these web pages. So use of database is evident. So use of databases, and sometimes they can also use content management systems. Okay, so content management systems can be used. Content management systems, content management system, that we call as CMS. Okay, they fetch the contents from databases, or sometimes they can fetch the contents from content management systems. Okay, and the contents of these web pages, they can be updated or they can be altered. Okay, and so we can say the contents can be updated. Updation is possible, so we can update the content. Okay, updation is possible. Okay, so that we see from the points what we have written in dynamic web pages. Dynamic web pages show different information at different point of time. Okay, so that means if I am accessing the website now, after accessing the website after 10 minutes or after 15 minutes, we can see a different content. So the contents can change with time, or the contents can change based upon the type of the user who is accessing the web page or a website. Okay, so we can call these web pages which changes with time or which changes for users, we can call them as dynamic web pages. Okay, a dynamic web page can provide user interaction. Users can interact with these web pages because these web pages are user friendly and user interaction is possible. So okay, so user interaction is possible in dynamic web pages. That means users can interact with dynamic web pages. Okay, by making use of advanced programming and databases in addition to HTML. So these web pages, they are not only created with HTML. Advanced programming is used, like Ajax is used. So advanced programming. Okay, advanced programming plus databases plus HTML is used. Okay, advanced programming like Ajax is used, databases are used, and HTML are used to create dynamic web pages. Okay, static web pages are easier to create, that we have already seen, while dynamic web pages, they require more work and they require more knowledge of programming. Okay, they require more knowledge of server side scripting. Okay, so dynamic websites uses client side scripting or server side scripting or both to generate the dynamic content. So content is to be generated dynamically. To generate the content dynamically, both server side and client side scripting knowledge is important. Okay, so this is all about static and dynamic web pages. Okay, thank you.